the next thing that I want to talk about was how to best navigate the transaction. Once you have your customer approved, and Home Partners refers to the customer as the resident. They don't refer to them as a renter because some people are going into the transaction with the intention of purchasing the house. Others are just seeing it as a means to rent. So once your resident is approved, and the approval will be issued based on their income. One thing to note is that Home Partners does calculate, they calculate income the same way as a mortgage lender does. So using the same DTI percentages, which the last I checked with them was going to be right around 40%. I thought one person told me 38, and I thought I heard another person there say 41%. But DTI is going to have to be roughly 40%, give or take. And once that approval is in place, they're going to be issued an approval based on a monthly payment. So it'll say an approval amount of $2,600 a month. That doesn't mean that that's what their rent is going to be. It just means that they can choose any home that they want from the Home Partner site at or below $2,600 a month. When you have that approval in place, one of the things that will save you an unending amount of time is to spend as much time as you can in the Home Partner site, just by logging in, going to your dashboard. There's an abundance of marketing materials in there, testimonials, videos, downloadable PDFs, and brochures to make sure that you understand the Home Partners guidelines, the property guidelines in the market that you're operating in. In Minneapolis, a couple of the quirks that they have is that they don't like homes, and actually I think this is a national thing. Well, actually, all of their guidelines are it's a one size fits all. So if they run into one issue, if they run into an issue in one market, they're gonna create a rule and implement it across the country. But one of the things that we run into somewhat consistently is that we'll run into an issue where the HOA fee on a property cannot exceed 1% of the sale price. So that doesn't always pose an issue, but it does from time to time. So that's something to be aware of, because you don't want to spend your time showing your customer homes that are not eligible for Home Partners. What we do is we set people up with an MLS search. So once they're approved, say they're approved for $2,600 a month, you can get a pretty good idea what list price of homes fall under that $2,600 a month just by going onto their site, look in the area that your customer is looking, use your best judgment, and then create an MLS search based on that list price. Use that as a way to, first of all, stay in touch with your customers so they can see properties that are hitting the market as soon as they do. But before you schedule showings on anything, make sure that you cross-reference that listing with the Home Partner site. By going into their site, you can enter the MLS number or or search by property address, whatever's easier. If the property does not show up on the site, and this does happen occasionally, if the home doesn't show up on their site, you can go into the How It Works section and use their address check tool. By punching in the address into the address check, it runs a cross-reference into their system to make sure that the address is eligible. If the address is eligible, then you'll have to double and triple check all of the criteria on the listing to make sure that there isn't something on there that's disqualifying it from the Home Partners program. The things that we run into the most are probably the age of the home, which in most markets, as far as I'm aware, just can't exceed 100 years. So you can't have homes that are over 100 years old. The HOA fee cannot exceed 1% of the sale price per month. So a $300,000 home can't have an HOA fee of $310 a month because that exceeds the threshold. There can't be rental restrictions. So again, all of this stuff, and property guidelines are one of those things that are constantly evolving. So you're going to want to stay familiar with what is and isn't eligible, because it'll save you a lot of time, not only in not showing properties that aren't eligible, but it would be inevitable that you show an ineligible property to your customer, and that's one that they're going to fall in love with, and they can't have it. So use the MLS as a tool to constantly engage with your customer, showing them, sending them properties so they can see stuff that's going on the market. Schedule as many showings as you can, tour as many homes as you can. When you have that part done and they pick a home, what we do is, standing in the kitchen, you can log into the website and you send the customer a renovation checklist. And I'm not crazy about the term or the name of this form, because I think it implies that Home Partners is willing to make a lot of updates to the property. Very rarely have I ever seen them do anything more than paint and carpet. There may be a circumstance that I'm not thinking of where they did make some other repair or some other update to the property. But generally speaking, the only thing that they'll do is paint and carpet. If they do paint and carpet, the cost of that paint and carpet does not affect the rent price at all, but it will affect their right to purchase, because the cost of that improvement is going to be added to the purchase price of the house to arrive at the cost basis like we talked about. We like to stay in the kitchen. We send them that renovation checklist. We explain again. Don't get excited. It's not what you think. Anything beyond paint and carpet, they're not going to do it. So send them that renovation checklist. They sign off on it. When they sign off on it, which I believe is using a DocuSign or something to that effect, when they sign off on it, then at that time we can submit the property to Home Partners for underwriting. The submission process is quite a bit of data entry that you have to do in the Home Partners website by logging in, entering all the data from the MLS, uploading documents, and submitting to their underwriting department. While the property is going through underwriting, that's when we use that opportunity to explain to the resident how the process works. Again, and we've already done this a couple of times before, but we like to kind of hammer it home one more time. Once the property goes under contract, there's a 10-day inspection period. During that 10 days, there's multiple inspections that take place, from evaluating the property condition to doing a BPO, which they sometimes do. BPO stands for broker price opinion, where they send out an unaffiliated real estate agent who evaluates a property, lets them know what the property is worth, as well as what the future value could be. During that inspection process, well, and actually we'll get into that maybe a little bit later, but when you get everything submitted into underwriting, they may have questions about what you submitted. Maybe there's something in the seller disclosures that they're not sure about, and it requires additional information. So you're working with them just like you would any other buyer who has questions about the property that they are going to buy. It's really important to note that we are representing Home Partners in their best interests at all times. The nature of our relationship with them very literally is a buyer's agent. And by this point, you will have already signed a buyer representation agreement that they send via DocuSign. So we have to treat them in their best interests as the most important part of the process at all times. when you do make it through the underwriting process, they'll email you the entire package. So the signed purchase agreement, the disclosures, proof of funds, and a few other supporting documents. What I like to do is repackage everything myself into a single PDF with a cover letter that I put together addressed to the listing agent, explaining how Home Partners works, what the benefits are of accepting this offer, which is all cash, really quick closing, no appraisal. I like to put that cover sheet together, email it to the agent, call them. Sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. If not, you leave them a voicemail, send them a text message as well. It's important to make sure that the listing agent understands the benefit of accepting our offer versus the next competing one, which very likely would be financing. Again, it's really important to negotiate, and during that process of negotiating back and forth, make sure that you're looking out for Home Partners' best interests at all times. We're also not allowed to disclose any terms or details of that purchase agreement to the resident themselves. It's important to note that the fiduciary obligation that you have to Home Partners also includes confidentiality. They will not allow us to discuss anything with the resident in regards to that purchase, anything that would be deemed confidential, meaning price, terms. They won't even let us disclose a copy of the inspection report or any of the inspection details. We always like to explain that to people ahead of time and say, if you would like to, you're more than welcome to order your own property inspection. But generally, because people are going to be renting, they're handpicking the house that they want. So we've never really had an issue with that. Once you are under contract, with that property, it's important to follow up and reiterate those expectations with the listing agent again. And those expectations are that during the 10-day inspection period, there is going to be multiple inspections that will take place. One is going to be done by the property inspection company that Home Partners hires, that we have no control over. They will order their own inspection. They will order a BPO if they choose, and oftentimes they will have a field service rep from the management company, a local one, reach out to you directly and set up a time to go into the property for their own review and their own inspection. A lot of what that is just kind of overseeing anything that would need to be done to be brought up to rental code. We always try to make that field service rep go in at the same time as the property inspector does to eliminate the multiple appointments, but that doesn't always work. Again, it's just important to set those expectations properly with the listing agent. When you get the inspection report back, we don't actually get the report back ourselves. When Home Partners gets the report, it's then reviewed internally by their inspections department, who discusses it with a project manager who oversees the acquisition and make-ready period for the property. At that point, the inspection department will email you what their thoughts are. Sometimes they say, property's perfect, there's no repairs, there's nothing, we'll just move forward as is. The majority of the time, there's some amount of deferred maintenance or some issues that would require either the seller to make a couple of minor repairs or maybe even a price concession. Generally speaking, we don't have properties that fail the inspection process, but I think a lot of that also has to do with us knowing the type of homes that Home Partners will buy and the ones that they won't. So I think we maybe have had 7 or 8 properties fail an inspection out of probably 300. So it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen occasionally. So when you have the inspection amendment in place and it's signed by all parties, either for repairs or price adjustment, send everything in, and then it's as good as gold. And that's the beauty of these transactions, is that because they're cash, the only thing that we have to worry about is the inspection. Once we get through that inspection period, which currently is 10 days, as soon as that part of it is done, it's all downhill, and then we're just simply waiting for closing. Again, it's important to make sure that we're always negotiating in home partners' best interest at all times. Once that part of it is done, what we like to do is then we sort of reach out to the resident and get them excited about the process. Say, hey, congratulations, the home, your new home passed inspection. It's also a great opportunity to ask for a referral. So when people are happy and excited, that's when you ask them who the next person is that they know that would be thinking of renting or buying a home. Use that opportunity to get referrals. It does help. And that's about it. So after the inspection is done, it's all downhill. It's good as gold.